Hello, good morning. So I did not want to talk about this subject. I don't like to talk about dark things in contrast to what people might think. But I am the faculty advisor for TPUSA at my university. So I felt like I do need to say something. And there's a lot that's been said. I don't want to say things that have already been said. And there's about three-fourths of what I cannot say that I don't want to say. But I do want to say some things. So I did want to give an oral history of my experience of TP at this university. So when I first started here as a professor, TP was not an official organization here. They could not find anybody who would be willing to be their faculty advisor. And so I was sort of recruited. I was vetted and recruited as probably one of the few people who was willing to do this, which is kind of shocking to me because when I went to the university, that was one of the things that I was the most excited about. I always wanted to hear what everybody thought. I always wanted to go to all the different conversations and the public discourses that were happening. Whether they were outrageous, that was all the more fun. That was what the university was about. And it's sad how far our country has gone down the tank. I think a part of that is the lack of civics education. I mean, when I was an eighth grader, we took a whole class on civics in the United States where we learned about the First Amendment, we learned about bills, we learned about the legislature, the executive branch, the judicial branch. We learned about all that stuff. We were taught about all that stuff. We were taught what it meant to be an American and what the Constitution actually meant. I don't think they teach that anymore. I think one thing that should be done is they should immediately teach better civics education. And I think another problem is, again, our country has imported a ton of people who have no idea what it means to be an American, who have no idea what the founding documents actually say. And I think the modern American doesn't even know themselves. So I think that's part of the root cause that's gotten us to this point where people will murder other people just because they have a different opinion or they want to say something that is even slightly controversial. And Charlie Kirk was not even controversial at all. Charlie Kirk is the nice boy you bring home to meet your grandma. He's the nerdy Republican running the nerdy Republican debate team. That's who Charlie Kirk is. He has never done anything wrong in his entire life. So it's just really sad. And so when I was recruited to be the faculty advisor, there was a very strange experience. The administration told TPUSA that they would not allow them to be an official group of the university because they were a hate group. And so some of the students who had taken my classes came up to me and said, well, will you sort of like represent us and be our faculty advisor? And maybe you can help us navigate this process because there's a big difference in sort of level of how much you can be active on the campus, whether you are or are not an official university organization. So I was like, okay, before I get myself into the situation, I probably want to go to some meetings to just hear like what they are, what you guys are talking about, what things are happening. So I went to a couple meetings, first three meetings, after I was invited to see like what this organization was all about. This is about 7 years ago when TP was like nascent. And I went to the organization and all it was a diverse group of students who would sit in a room. There were engineers, there were political scientists, there were libertarians, men, women. I was actually invited to the group by a woman. And what they would do is they would have a moderator in the front of the classroom. They would pitch an issue and they would debate it and they would study it and they would play devil's advocate. And it was a moderator's job at the front of the classroom to say, here's what the other side thinks of this. Here are the main points. What do you guys think about that? What do you think our position should be as TPUSA or conservatives? And they would debate for an hour and a half and have nice conversations. And sometimes they would get heated. And it was interesting and it was educational and they were smart. Again, these are the Republican nerds. And the one topic that I remember that they were talking about was nuclear energy and solar energy. And they were talking with engineers, doing advanced discussions about the political pros and cons of different energy policy. Again, these are like policy wonk. This is not a hate group. So, after seeing that, I thought, okay, they're definitely misrepresenting this group. This is obviously a bureaucracy, a DEI bureaucracy that's attacking this group for no reason. They've never gone to any of these meetings. I'm the only one willing to go to any of these meetings and see what they're talking about. So I talked to the university And essentially I was like, I had to have a meeting. I literally had to have a scheduled meeting with a professor, with bureaucrats who were managing I mean, there's a whole bureaucratic system at my university that manages the group clubs. And the bureaucrats sat me down and they tried to lecture me about how this was a hate group and we can't allow this at the university because it's a hate group. And I said, what are you talking about? I've been to the meetings. I know these kids. They're not hateful at all. And this is what they try to tell me. And so, I won that debate. I convinced the bureaucracy that they're not a hate group. And that was a slander on the group. And so then I became the faculty advisor and they became an official group. And, since then I have not had a lot of contact with them. As a faculty advisor, I kind of let groups do their own thing. I don't want to be a force that is telling them what to do. So I've kind of just been the person to advocate for them when they need an advocate, or if they have a problem, sometimes I'll act in dispute resolution. And that was that. And then they became an official group. And from then on, they started to grow. And they're one of the fastest growing clubs on the campus. And because I'm the faculty advisor, I get emails, when somebody joins, I'm getting emails all the time. And right after he was killed, I got a ton of emails, people wanting to join the group. So to the group, I'd tell you, you guys need to keep doing what you're doing because you're having a positive impact. And it's really unfortunate that you were targeted like that. And, a while back, maybe like 4 or 5 years back, there's an organization called FIRE, which evaluates free speech on campuses in the United States. And it will rank colleges according to their placement on how much they value free speech. And my university was actually at the top of that list, in the top 10 for free speech. And one of the ranking criterias for whether or not you were a free speech campus was whether or not you actually had a TP chapter, because most universities were not allowing TP USA to be a part of the university. And again, that's just shocking to me as a faculty advisor. Every faculty member should know that free speech is important. And, if they're coming for somebody else's free speech, they're going to be coming for yours. So whether it was TP or the communists or the Marxists, I would be anybody's faculty advisor because I think it's interesting to hear what people think. I want to hear what young people think. And so the final thing that I'll say is, part of the blood is on the hands of all the people who were slandering TP USA and slandering Charlie Kirk, because he's not a hateful person. He is very moderate. And I'm not going to speculate on who done it. I don't think we're ever going to know who did it. When the FBI releases the who done it, I'm not going to believe it. I think the FBI has lost all credibility. I think all our institutions have lost all credibility. I'm never going to believe it. I don't believe the idea of a lone wolf. I think lone wolves exist, but what people don't understand is that there are entire infrastructures to cultivate lone wolves. So I don't believe in the lone wolf theory. If they say it's a transgender activist, I'm not going to believe that. Maybe. Bottom line is our institutions have lost so much credibility that when something like this happens, there's nobody that can believe anything anymore, which is frustrating. So we're not going to know. We're not going to know why this happened. First thing I did when I heard about it is I went to church. Again, I'm not the person who goes to church every Sunday, but when I'm very angry, maybe that is the best thing to do. And the priest said that now we are in a time where Christians are being persecuted and that now is not the time for weak knees. I think he's right about that. And for all the people who are anti-Christian or anti-Charlie Kirk, I'd speak to you. I understand that you want to be skeptical of religion. I understand that. And I understand that you want to be skeptical of somebody who you thought was right-wing, although he's not right-wing. He's very moderate. This is a guy who just wants to have conversations with people. And I've done lots of research. I've gone all the way down to the roots of the real literature that is anti-Christian. I've gone down all that path, and all the way at the end, there's nothing left at the end. There's nothing there that's going to create a positive society. I will talk a little bit about the motive, because I do think that is something that can be easily understood. Nobody killed Charlie Kirk because of something he said. That's not why they killed him. They killed him because he was extremely good at what he did. He was the most effective youth organizer probably to ever exist in America. He had established TP chapters at almost every university probably now through sheer force of will and determination. He was smart, he was articulate, and he was persuasive. And he was at the top of his game. And that's why they killed him. They didn't kill him because of anything he said. And I don't know who they is. It's going to be difficult to discern because there's a lot of dark groups in the United States that are operating. And there's more than one. And it's difficult to discern who's doing what. But this is not what America stands for. This is not who we are as a people. I saw that there was a guy cheering after he was murdered. Just think about that, how sick that is. That's the type of people that we are living with in the United States. We're living with a population of people who do not believe in free speech, and they're dangerous. The enemy is here. And to all the people who are going to be advocates for free speech, I think you need to keep doing what you're doing. The group, I think you need to keep doing what you're doing. That's why you were targeted. They're afraid. This is a death grip of a dying creature who feels its power is being lost. I mean, and I actually do feel this is a very dark time, but I feel more optimistic. 10 years ago, again, there was not free speech. We did not have free speech 10 years ago, where they were outlawing these chapters who just wanted to debate. So now we're at a point where we do have a bulkhead of free speech. So you guys need to keep doing what you're doing, but you need to be careful. And you need to understand that this is an evil place and politics is not a game right now. Have a good day.
Let the gate be opened to die. I shall meet death head on. Deckard Cain, you've got to get out of here. Beware foul demons and beasts. There are many foes here. The time has come to cleanse my heart. This monastery reeks with evil and corruption. Oh, I hate staining my hands with the blood of foul sorcerers. Eternal suffering would be too great for you, Diablo. Let the gate be opened to die. I shall meet death head on. I shall meet death head on. Deckard Cain, you've got to get out.